Welcome back to our series, Across State Lines, a series where we investigate each state's most notorious cold cases. Today, we make our way to Colorado to explore a case so poorly handled that it raises the question, was this truly the perfect crime or simply the perfect storm of mistakes? It's been a while, but the reason it took us so long to come out with another episode is because our computer guy, Terry, actually got in a really bad car accident and is now in a wheelchair. And we can't do the show without Terry. We had to take a little hiatus, but we are back. Terry's giving us the thumbs up in a wheelchair. Hopefully it's not a permanent solution. And David did not send him flowers in the hospital because he has no soul.
Send him cold, hard cash.
JonBenét Ramsey was a 6-year-old child beauty queen prodigy. JonBenet won multiple pageants, making it seem like she had a long career in front of her. JonBenet's parents, Patsy and John, were very wealthy and well known in their community, living in an affluent house in Boulder, Colorado. John was president of a computer company, while Patsy was a former child beauty pageant star, wanting her daughter to follow in her footsteps. JonBenet also had an older brother named Burke, age 9. What do you think of child beauty pageants?
Can't say I have a ton of experience there. I'm not really a beauty pageant kind of guy.
I'm not asking you to critique. I'm asking you, what are your thoughts on child beauty pageants?
I don't know. The words that come to mind are forced child labor.
Okay, I was going different. I was thinking weird, but I see where you're coming from.
I mean, it is weird too. You know what I mean? Can we talk for a moment about this 6-year-old child named John?
JonBenet, because it's a combination of her middle name. No one ever refers to her as John. But in the script, if you ever just hear John, that's referring to John Ramsey, the father. With a seemingly perfect family life, no one would have thought that a single night would bring that crashing down. December 25th, 1996. 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey was with her parents and brother at a family friend's house for a Christmas party before driving home. When returning to the house, John and Patsy say JonBenet fell asleep in the car and was immediately carried to bed when they got home. Everyone else went about their nights before going to bed with nothing out of the ordinary. That is, until 5 a.m. that next day.
911 emergency. Police. What's going on? 515th Street. What's going on there, ma'am?
We have a kidnapping. Hurry, please.
Explain to me what's going on, okay?
There's a note left and our daughter's gone.
A note was left and your daughter is gone? How old is your daughter?
6 years old. She's gone. 6 years old.
How long ago was it?
I don't know. I just found the note. And my daughter's
Does it say who took her?
What?
Does it say who took her?
I don't know. There's a ransom note here.
It's a ransom note?
It says SBTC. Victory. Please.
Okay, what's your name? Are you
Patsy Ramsey. I'm the mother. Oh my God. Please.
I'm sending an officer over, okay?
Please.
Do you know how long she's been gone?
No, I don't. Please, we just got out. Is she right here? Oh my God, please.
Okay, well,
There's somebody.
I am, honey.
Please.
Take a deep breath,
Please,
okay?
hurry.
Patsy.
What did you glean from that 911 call?
That was unsettling. Like when you're watching a horror movie and you see something move in the background that's not in focus, like that's kind of what that vibe gives off.
As the morning came, Patsy woke up around 5 a.m. and headed downstairs towards the kitchen. On her way, she noticed something unusual lying at the bottom of the spiral staircase. It was a note, 2.5 pages long. From the first couple sentences, it became clear. It was a ransom note for the kidnapped JonBenet. The note said, quote,
Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We do respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want her to see 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attaché to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag. I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange an earlier delivery of the money, and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation of my instructions will result in the immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The two gentlemen watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about your situation, such as the police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if any are found, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand a 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions, and you stand a 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny, as well as the authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good Southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory. SBTC.
That's a long ransom note.
We're going to touch up on this, but I was curious. I was like, is it normal for her to wake up at 5 a.m.? Who in their right mind is waking up that early for unless you have a job, right? And
naturally.
Obviously, she's not working because her husband is freaking loaded. So I was like, why are they waking up that early? Apparently, they were going on a trip the next day. They had a flight that morning. So I guess that would make sense why she's awake 2 hours early from her 7 a.m. flight.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not getting to the airport at least 2 hours early, are you even a good father?
But I think this is pre 9/11. I think it was way easier. Customs was not a thing.
That's a good point. But the letter is really well worded, meaning to me at least that an English speaker wrote the letter.
So what does that make you think with it being a small foreign faction?
But I do think it's interesting that a foreign faction has, at least one person there, has a pretty strong grasp of the English language.
Yeah.
And some of the grammar's wrong, and some of it's a little clunky. I mean, you could say it's someone's second language that they've learned really well. But I think it's really interesting that they're a foreign faction, but also that the letter was handwritten. Mm-hmm. To me, that feels like if you're smart, you want to type that out.
To not be
analyzed
and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. I just feel like that's another clue.
The first officer on the scene arrives, Officer Rick French, just before 6 a.m., shortly after Patsy had called the police. French read the ransom note and did an initial search of the house, looking for any exit the kidnapper could have used to escape. Soon after, forensics and family friends showed up to the Ramseys. Given that the cops thought it was a kidnapping, the only blocked off part of the house was JonBenét's bedroom. Meaning, police, forensics, the parents, and family friends were compromising the entire crime scene by just being there, let alone having free range to roam the house, rendering it useless due to contamination. Boulder police faced intense scrutiny as their failure to follow proper protocol compromised what should have been a carefully controlled crime scene. During this time, John set up arrangements for the ransom money to be retrieved from his bank account by his friend John Fernie. Fernie returned to the house empty-handed, stating the police didn't want him to bring the money to the house because they needed to mark and track the serial numbers for the ransom handoff. Hours later, at around 1 p.m., and still no phone call from the kidnappers, the Ramsey household was quiet. There were only a few left in the house. Detective Linda Arndt being one of them. Detective Arndt had arrived at 8 a.m. in anticipation for the kidnappers to call at 10 a.m. To ease the tension from the lack of a phone call, she asked John and his friend Fleet White to search the house for anything that seemed amiss. John and Fleet immediately went downstairs to the basement. Moments later, Fleet ran up the stairs yelling for an ambulance. JonBenet was found dead in the basement in a room behind a wooden latch door. She was covered in a white blanket, she had duct tape over her mouth, and her wrist and neck were bound with nylon cord. A choking device called a garrote was made from a broken paintbrush handle, and a cord was wrapped around her neck. John ripped off the duct tape but struggled to get the cord bindings off her wrist. That's when John picked her up and brought her upstairs. He placed her down at the top of the stairs. Patsy immediately threw herself at JonBenét's body, crying, contaminating the body even more than John. Through the wailings and praying of Patsy, the police realized why the call from the kidnappers never came.
I have so many questions. That's like an M. Night
Shyamalan
like level
twist. Yeah, exactly.
Unbelievable. The fact that the cops fumbled that so bad. Friends
Respect our boys in blue.
Yeah. Respectfully. Why are they roaming the house? Like, that is crazy to me.
It is crazy because I'm trying to think of their head. It's like, okay, we know it was a kidnapping and the last place she was, according to the parents, was her bedroom. Okay, cross off the bedroom. But it's like, even if that is what you're thinking, the killer obviously had to walk through the house to get to the bedroom. No matter how you look at it, you're like, what are you guys doing?
No, I mean, it makes no sense. Either the killer somehow goes in through the window, and that's what they're thinking, or he just magically teleports in and out, Harry Potter style.
But yeah, the fact that they had so many people come over, not just of the police department, but family, friends. I'm like, I get it. Your daughter was just kidnapped. You found this note. If let's say you're in this situation where you have your family and you wake up and you find out they've been kidnapped, are you going to call over family, friends? You're going to call the police? Are you going to think to be like, hey, Jeremy, my daughter's been kidnapped, come over? Like, I don't see the rationale of telling people that aren't the authorities, because, like, what are they going to do?
The only thing that I'm thinking of is people saw and heard the commotion from the police cars at such an early time in the morning. And family, friends, I would assume, live relatively close, across the street, next door, kitty corner, whatever. And so I'd assume that some of them just came to kind of see what was up with the noise. Did it say they called and reached out to family, friends? Because yeah, that would be wild.
I mean, I assume they did just because family, friends did come over.
Sure.
Whether there were actual police reports and records of them calling, couldn't tell you, but I think it's safe to assume.
And no shade on John or Patsy for touching their daughter's body.
I was gonna say that's a given.
I would probably do the same thing.
What parent is gonna restrain themselves from not picking up or even touching their kid who not only one they thought was kidnapped, but two who's dead? Of course you're gonna.
And the only other thing that I'll note from this, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Is it garrote?
Garrote or garrote? I was hearing both pronunciations. Do you know what that is?
I do, yeah. Yeah, so...
I'm genuinely shocked because I had no idea what that was.
Yeah, so it's a relatively, I'm not going to say common killing device, because it kind of puts a flavor on that, but it's very effective. And I can't vouch for a bunch of military organizations using this, but it's relatively common in stealth operations and stealth movement, because it's essentially a steel woven cord that you use to kind of cut off oxygenated blood going into your brain. And it's much harder to struggle against steel than it is against hands and fingers.
For the record, David does not have a criminal record or has never been accused of killing someone.
I have 2 parking tickets. That's about it.
Unpaid. Now I know what you're talking about. The weapon from Hitman. I mean, you've probably never played the game, but is it 2 handles and a cord?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. The reason I'm just connecting that dot is because this one looked wildly different. It was a broken off paintbrush. There's one handle. You know what? Let me just, Terry, pull up a photo of the garrote. That.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, that's not.
It's not.
Is that string?
Yeah, it's a cord and it's a broken paintbrush. Not very professional.
I don't really know how to say this without sounding like a homicidal psychopath.
That ship has sailed, bro. You just explained what a killing machine was.
But you can make a professional grade one for maybe $15 at Home Depot.
Once again, David does not have a criminal record.
I mean, it's woven steel cord and 2 wooden handles.
Apparently, it's nylon cord and a broken paintbrush handle.
Yeah, I guess you're getting it off of Temu.
JonBenét's autopsy revealed many things. Cause of death, strangulation, and a skull fracture. She had an 8.5-inch fracture to the right side of her skull, although the sequence of which came first is still up for debate, given that it couldn't be determined by the autopsy. Many professionals believe she was hit on the head first and then strangled 45 minutes to 2 hours later. Dr. Lucy Rourke, a renowned pediatric neuropathologist who examined the brain tissue, found significant swelling. She explained, for the brain to swell to that extent, the heart had to continue beating for a significant amount of time after the hit on the head occurred, pushing blood into the injured area. It would also make sense she was knocked out before the strangulation, given the lack of evidence suggesting a struggle. While proponents of the strangulation happening first theory points to the lack of blood from the fracture on the head, showing the heart wasn't pumping enough or at all to get more blood to the wound. Initial reports had her death anywhere from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. Multiple abrasions would be found on her body, possibly from being dragged. While other undetermined marks were found on her body, Detective Lud Smith believed them to be from a stun gun, but was never able to prove it. It was also discovered she was a chronic bedwetter. Her left palm had a red inked heart drawn on it, thought to have happened post-mortem considering it wasn't smudged or worn. Urine stains and blood stains would be found on her underwear, while the underwear itself was a couple sizes too big for JonBenet. But it doesn't stop there. There was evidence of sexual assault, determined to have happened right before her death, and possibly signs of chronic abuse, although that is heavily contested by experts alike and could point to her being a chronic bedwetter instead of signs of sexual assault. The broken paintbrush handle that was part of the device that choked JonBenet is thought to have been used to sexually assault her before her death, but then a break in the case. Further tests would find unidentified male DNA on her underwear mixed with the bloodstains, and more DNA under her fingernails was discovered, perhaps from her attacker. The DNA was compared to friends, neighbors, a sex offender database, and John Ramsey himself, all coming back negative. The DNA under her fingernails wouldn't prove helpful either, given that it was impossible to test how fresh the DNA was. Pineapple was found in her small intestine, which may not seem like a lot on the surface until you consider the fact that a bowl of pineapple was found on the Ramsey's kitchen counter. The discovery of the pineapple made it clear that JonBenet had been awake in the house 2 hours before her death, directly contradicting John and Patsy's statement of putting JonBenet right to bed.
What do you think of the pineapple?
I think it's interesting. I don't think that it's like a smoking gun.
No.
I mean, I think it's easy enough for a child to go downstairs and eat a piece of pineapple, personally. Not to say that her parents are or are not lying. And while it is interesting, I think, if someone were to eat the pineapple, or they said they carried her into bed, well, maybe they carried her in, she's still kind of awake, wants a piece of pineapple.
Yeah, who's to say she didn't go back down?
Exactly, yeah. Or maybe they gave her some pineapple on the way upstairs to her room. Like, I don't know. It seems like a weird thing to kind of get hung up on, but there could be a lot more in the context of the pineapple itself.
We'll put a pin in that.
As for the crime scene, let's address some of the oddities of the ransom note. The very specific $118,000 demand. Not only is it a very specific number, but it just so happens that it is the exact amount Mr. Ramsey got for his Christmas bonus. The section where it says, quote, hence an earlier pickup of your daughter, end quote. There's actually the word delivery before the word pickup, which was crossed out, potentially because the author realized kidnappers wouldn't deliver a hostage.
I like to think that I'm a decent writer, someone who reads a little bit here and there.
Terry shaking his head.
Terry, I'm not going to throw hands with a disabled person because that's rude. But the moment
he's out of the wheelchair,
all bets are off.
Count your days, bro.
I think that is really odd. Like, as you're writing that, you're like, delivery, nah, pickup.
Yeah,
I don't know. Definitely weird. Very
sure.
weird.
The author seems to have made a mistake on their feelings towards John. Quote, the two men watching over your daughter do not particularly like you, end quote. Originally it said, quote, the two men watching over your daughter do particularly like you, end quote. The word not was written above the space between the words do and particularly.
How could you mess that up? And why would you mess it up in the affirmative or in the innocent of they do like you?
If you're writing something very quickly, I can see how that would happen. Is it very likely? No. But I do think, thinking back to, writing papers for school or maybe writing in a journal or something, it's kind of easy to maybe not lose track of what you're writing, but just sometimes your hand just writes something completely different than what your brain is thinking. Again, to me, that's not a smoking gun, like I said before, but at the same time, that is really odd. Out of all the things to mess up, that's a really weird one to mess up on.
It's like, it's a weird detail of not knowing how you feel about the man who you just kidnapped his daughter.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
It's very theatrical, mirroring famous movie ransom notes like Speed, Ransom, and Dirty Harry. Some lines being completely plagiarized, like the line, quote, "Don't grow a brain, Douglas," end quote, from Dirty Harry. They claim to be a foreign faction, yet quote many famous English-American movies. It's very lengthy and wordy, with phrases like, "You are not the only fat cat around," or "The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested."
If you are trying to write quickly, why are you writing like the most prolific and thematic ransom note instead of just saying, do it? You don't need to be like, hey, it's going to be tough, champ. Keep your head up and it's going to be all right, you know?
I know, yeah, it is kind of interesting. It kind of reminds me of the Zodiac. Like in
taunting?
I mean taunting, but also just like in his, like in the way he would speak. Like when you listen to those phone calls and stuff that he had, a lot of like not the same phrases, but it's like very, not grammatically correct, though it is.
Yeah.
But more so like very educated and calculated ways to express your thoughts and feelings versus like, this is my intent. There's like very much almost like an artistry to it.
Okay.
There's like quotes from movies and there's like some thought. It's not just like some guy hopped up on adrenaline, like writing out some crazy note. I mean, it's quoting movies.
So you think it's like, it's the persona he's trying to portray. Like instead of being so blatant and forward of this place, this time with this money, do it and you get your daughter. He's trying to perform in a sense. Like he's not being condescending.
I don't think he's being condescending, but the way that he's talking makes me think he's educated. Like this isn't like some blue collar, normal working American man just writing some letter. Like it feels very measured. Like there's something unusual about the way they use the English language that suggests to me that it's more than just your average person.
The note claims to be from a group, but then the writer abandons the group mentality and uses the singular pronouns as the note goes on. For example, quote, "I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow," end quote. Some words at the beginning are misspelled and other harder words are correctly spelt. For example, business is spelled with an extra S and possession is missing an S, while words like attaché and exhausting are spelled correctly, possibly indicating the writer's attempt at deception. There was a first draft of the ransom note found and discarded in the Ramsey's house. It is incredibly long, 2.5 pages, making it the longest ransom note in FBI history. The initials written at the end, SBTC, does not have a period after the C, which is proper grammar and would be known/used by someone who belongs and identifies as that faction.
The last thing about the period after the C, very interesting. To me, the crazy thing is they found a first draft of the ransom note. If you're writing a ransom note, regardless of who you are, one, to draft the ransom note is crazy, especially if you're already crossing stuff out. Why would you leave that? Why are you not folding that up, putting it in your pocket? I mean, that just seems so odd. You're just going to throw it away. I mean, it just says discarded. Corner of a room or in a trash can. Something that's just easy enough to find. Like, that just seems so odd.
It seems to me you're coming from the perspective of like sincerity. Like if you believe someone, the kidnapper, wrote this note. I'm viewing it more of there's a lot of inconsistencies that make me think there's someone who wrote this note that wants me to think a kidnapper wrote it. Like the author is purposely writing deceptively to masquerade a situation that is not the situation at all. Like you're saying, they sound very methodical and educated and yada yada, which they do. But is that because that's who they are, or are they trying to masquerade as something or someone? Not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying I'm right.
No.
Just
I really like that perspective.
Something to think about because the ransom note is definitely going to come into play later on.
Oh yeah, 100%.
As for other parts of the crime scene, 2 partial shoe prints would be found in the cellar JonBenet was found in, located close to where the body had been. It was a high-tech boot, a certain type that came with a compass attached to the laces. However, further investigations would determine that the shoe print from the high-tech boot came from Burke Ramsey and had nothing to do with the crime scene. A broken window was located in the basement, but according to John Ramsey, he had broken it long ago when he had got locked out of his house. Be that as it may, an intruder could have still used it despite not breaking it. Another shoe impression would be discovered. One was on an out-of-place suitcase located directly below the broken window. However, police also noted that the dirt and dust around the broken window seemed undisturbed. First responders noted that there were no footprints around the house in the snow either, but it's also worth mentioning there wasn't a lot of snow at this time. A rope was found in the Ramseys' guest room, which was located close to JonBenet's room, which they claimed wasn't theirs. A Maglite flashlight was also discovered on the Ramseys' kitchen counter, which they also claimed wasn't theirs. Some investigators believed this flashlight was the object that caused the fracture to JonBenet's head. Not only did simulated tests result in a very similar skull fracture, when found, the flashlight had been completely wiped down of any human DNA. Even the batteries were clean of any fingerprints, which raised more suspicion. Others believe that a blue baseball bat found in the Ramsey bushes was the weapon used. It's worth pointing out the weapon used has never officially been disclosed and currently is listed as unknown for JonBenet. However, one of the weapons used on JonBenet was linked directly to the Ramseys. The other missing piece from the paintbrush that was part of the device that killed JonBenet was found in Patsy Ramsey's art supplies. The most damning piece of evidence discovered, the notepad and pen used to write the ransom note, belonged to the Ramseys.
So Maglites are known for being like rugged, very durable flashlights. Mm-hmm. The kind of thing that you drop or maybe smash somebody with and it doesn't break. I'm not really sure exactly what that has to do with anything, but Maglite is just known as that brand.
Oh, I thought you were going the way of if it was used to hit someone, then it wouldn't show any signs of it because they're very durable.
There's that too.
Like it'd be hard to determine, would it make sense for a family household to have a Maglite?
Yes and no. Yes, in the fact that it's a common enough brand to find and buy. It's not like crazy expensive. Mm-hmm. Granted, I'm not familiar with flashlight pricing in 1996. So
and I have you on this show, bro. Come on.
But also no, because that's one of those things that, in my opinion, would constitute like a well thought out purchase. Every family has a flashlight. I don't know if very many people have a Maglite.
I'm going to have Terry pull up an image for us so we can see what we're dealing with. Oh, yeah, these are like the hefty ones.
Oh, yeah. No, these things are bricks. The kind of things that you would see like cops carry around in the early 2000s kind of movies.
I don't know why this flashlight makes me think of it. Night of the Museum. This is like the exact flashlight.
It is Night of the Museum.
Terry's pulled up some images and searches. They're around $60. That's more than the producers give us for the show.
Oh, yeah. We should go on strike.
No shade, though, to our producers. We love
them. Very much love
We love them.
Okay, maybe delving into almost like a side... well, this probably isn't a side theory. I'm sure it's a main theory. But if you were to stage something like this, it would be weird to clean the battery.
It's weird that all of it's clean. It's also weird that there were other things found that the Ramseys claimed and it wasn't theirs. It's like a flashlight. That's not ours. A rope. That's not ours. Well, then whose are they, right?
There was another break in the case. There was an alleged witness. A neighbor named Melody Stanton claimed she heard a child screaming from the Ramseys' house anywhere from midnight to 2 a.m. Of course, that brings up the question of how people who lived across the street could hear something and not the Ramseys themselves. The investigators would prove it to be almost impossible to hear screaming from the room JonBenet was found in from John and Patsy's bedroom, 2 floors above. So how did Melody hear a scream that no one else could hear? A notion pushed by investigators was that vents connecting the basement room to the outside were facing the same direction as Melody's house, essentially amplifying the noise, which would make her statement possible. However, her statement would begin to fall apart as a year later she would say, quote, "It may not have been an audible scream, but rather the negative energy radiating from JonBenet," end quote, that she had sensed, which made her an unreliable witness.
Energy? Are you serious?
You know he had his notepad out. He's like, okay, well, this is going nowhere.
Her chakra just felt so...
I felt her chi scream while I was meditating.
One, if this witness for any reason can be trusted, the window was broken, right? I don't know where in relation that window is to where this neighbor lives. I could see there's some world that exists where you could hear the scream through a broken window and like an open window in the neighbor's house, maybe.
Assuming we can trust this witness, which frankly I don't, after she claimed it was probably just negative energy I felt.
That created an audible whatever.
Negative energy.
Officer, while I was out charging my crystals in the full moon, I heard a scream.
She gets arrested for possession of hallucinogens or something right there.
Now that we have the crime laid out, let's get into some theories about who killed JonBenét Ramsey. There are 2 general possibilities labeled as IDI, intruder did it, or RDI, Ramsey's did it. We will discuss each generally, then go more in depth with each of them. Theory 1. An intruder broke into the house and staged a kidnapping to cover a murder. This was Detective Lou Smith's theory. Many things add up for an intruder to have been responsible. Hundreds of robberies took place in the Ramseys neighborhood in the months leading up to JonBenét's death. On top of that, 38 registered sex offenders lived within a 2-mile radius of the Ramseys' home.
Is that substandard? Is that normal?
I'm literally writing this. I was like, do I dare look up how many live around me? Because that is nuts.
38 within a 2-mile radius.
And let's think about this too. This is 30 years ago. As depressing as it is to say, it's probably doubled that number.
Wouldn't shock me. That is a weirdly concentrated population of sex offenders. That's a lot of sex offenders.
It's like it was cheap land or something right next to it. It's like, there's a village of sex offenders. You okay with that? It's like, yeah, I don't care. Just build my mansion or whatever.
Just build my mansion.
Given that the Ramseys were rich and JonBenet was a child beauty pageant star, she could have easily garnered unwanted attention from very sinister people. The fact that the house wasn't secure that night, not only from the broken window leading to the basement, but a door was found to have been open all night, meaning someone could have easily waltzed in without making a noise. The unidentified shoe print on the suitcase that was possibly used for stabilization as the intruder entered through the broken window, and unidentifiable DNA on JonBenet showed the presence of an unknown individual near JonBenet at some point, possibly in the house. Multiple items being found in the Ramseys' house that didn't belong to them indicates they were left by a perpetrator. The baseball bat in the bushes was tested and had fibers on it that matched carpet from the Ramseys' basement, meaning the baseball bat had been inside and in the basement at one point, possibly used to hit JonBenet. The ransom note couldn't be attributed to any of the Ramseys nor their close friends. Joe Barnhill, a neighbor, he saw a tall, thin, blonde male outside the Ramseys' house the night of the 25th. Patsy Ramsey was known to tell people where the hidden key located in the garden was to get in the house. When the police went to find this key, it was missing.
This brings up a question though. The broken window. John said, I locked myself out, didn't have my keys. There's a key in your front garden. I'll just put that out there for now, but take that how you will.
It would also make sense for a perverted attacker to strangle and assault JonBenet before hitting her on the head, wanting to get that gratification. All this points to the intruder entering from the broken basement window, grabbing JonBenet and getting her into the basement, potentially giving her pineapple from the upstairs bowl to keep her from crying while in the basement. Deciding that choking her with his bare hands would leave evidence, he used his nylon cord and a paintbrush he found in another room in the basement and made the choking device. He then proceeded to strangle and assault JonBenet, changing her underwear so no DNA was left behind. He then hit her on the head with a bat to ensure there were no witnesses. Staging the kidnapping ensued. The intruder tied her up, put duct tape on her mouth, and covered her in a blanket. After, he went upstairs, found a notepad and pen, and wrote a 2.5-page ransom note, lengthy enough to waste time through scrutiny, and outrageous enough to throw off the investigation. He left the note where he knew it would be found and escaped out the open door previously mentioned, before tossing the bat in the bushes and making a run for it. However, this theory highlights a lot of setbacks and brings up more questions than answers. For starters, Fleet White, the friend who was with John Ramsey when the body was discovered, said he couldn't be sure if he had moved the suitcase to the spot underneath the window while searching for her. To go along with the suitcase, why would the killer enter the house through the broken window and not exit the same way? Given that there was only one footprint suggesting someone descending, not ascending on the suitcase below the window? Why risk going upstairs to escape when you already had an exit downstairs? Additionally, a spiderweb, dust, and other debris around and on the broken window appeared undisturbed, raising questions of how a person could get through it without disrupting anything. Also, the intruder would have had to time everything just right with first getting JonBenet and going up and down the house, considering Burke was awake and roaming during the night. And he had to do it without her yelling or making any noise to alert her parents or Burke. Why would the intruder create a makeshift strangle device with parts around the house when he had brought a rope? Furthermore, why would he use any device instead of his hands to strangle her if he didn't have any setbacks with assaulting her, which would definitely leave DNA evidence? Why throw the murder weapon into the bushes instead of taking it with you? Not only would the killer had to have just left all the stuff he brought scattered around the house, he would have waited around in the house for 2 hours while an unconscious JonBenet was in the basement. If we remember, JonBenet was thought to have been subdued, then killed 2 hours later, which brings up the question, why would he risk staying in the house that long?
What possible reason could you think of that would slightly explain why he would stay in the house that long?
Writing the ransom note?
Like staging everything?
I mean, because they found the draft. I don't know how long the draft is.
It's 2 words.
The draft is 2 words?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the draft of the ransom note that was found, like the first draft, all it said was Mr. and Mrs., and then it was discarded. So whoever wrote the note just wanted it to be directed towards John Ramsey instead of Patsy Ramsey.
Okay, scratch that. But still, writing 2.5 pages, it's quite a feat. Yeah, I could imagine the whole staging and everything. Kidnaps her, takes her downstairs, knocks her out. It doesn't seem like he had time to stage it yet, and I don't imagine he would have staged it and then went up and grabbed her.
Yeah.
To me, that doesn't seem logical, but I've also, never kidnapped or killed anybody.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
David has a good track record.
What the court can't prove.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, other than staging it, I really don't see it, unless you have something that I haven't thought of.
I think it would be staging, but I'm just like, if you did what you wanted with JonBenet, you don't kill her, like you strangled her, did what you did, then you're like, okay, crap, I gotta stage this now. It is so risky to stay in the house for 2 hours. Going up and down, putting crap everywhere, rope in the guest room, flashlight on the table. Let's find some pen and paper inside the house and write a note in the open, like all while Burke allegedly was awake and kind of roaming the house. Just get out. Do what you came to do and get out. First of all, why would you risk it as a kidnapping? Because like that alone is going to just keep you in the house longer. Yeah, I can throw off the police, but it's like, does that really outweigh just getting out as fast as you can? And it taking 2 hours, I'm just like, I don't believe that. And not only would have had to take 2 hours, he would have had to gone back down to JonBenet and realize she was still alive and then hit her on the head. And it's like, why would you go back down? Like, did you not check the first time if she was dead or whatever? Like, what?
I mean, it could also be in this situation, someone just making absolutely sure that the job was done. When you're doing a math problem on like a final exam.
You lost me already. Keep going.
And you go back through before you turn it in. And you look at every single step and make sure that you didn't screw up anything. I can only imagine when the stakes are raised to a murder, you'd probably feel the same way. I mean, I can imagine someone being like, just for peace of mind, I got to check one last time.
Yeah. You know, yeah, in the affirmative, the add-on, obviously this person's a sicko. They have some weird emotional tie to her. They probably would go down like one last time to say goodbye or freaking whatever. See her one last time before they left. Oh, yeah. And maybe in that moment they're like, holy crap, she's still breathing. But nothing to me outweighs the risk of getting caught, of just staying in the house longer than you have to.
That question coincides with questions about the ransom note. Why spend all that time writing a note when you could potentially get caught at any moment? As for the DNA found on JonBenet, the body and crime scene had been so contaminated, there's no telling where it came from. The sample was also so small it had to be amplified to make it eligible for testing, which could have altered the results. Dr. Henry Lee examined the DNA found on the underwear and believed it to be transfer DNA from the manufacturing process. To prove this, he took an unopened package of underwear and tested it, finding foreign DNA. which shows the DNA is too minuscule and too problematic to confidently be attributed to the crime itself, meaning anyone could be responsible.
So it's like, oh, they just have to match the DNA and we found the killer. No, because Bobby in Wisconsin in the manufacturing process could have sneezed and boom, now he's convicted of a crime that he wasn't even around for or anything, right? This whole case has made DNA evidence so much more, like before you're like, DNA evidence, you have that 100% guaranteed, like that person killed whoever. But think about this. I saw this video and it was a forensics person talking about DNA transfer, and he poured salt on his hand and he had the person he was interviewing pour sugar on her hand, and they shook hands. And then she went and grabbed her water bottle. Now there's salt and sugar on the water bottle, but he never touched the water bottle. And you can see how that's misleading if you were to characterize it as his DNA is on the water bottle, therefore he touched it. No, he touched her, who then touched the water. It just changed my perspective on DNA, where I'm like, there's a lot of wiggle room with DNA. Like, you can talk your way out of it sometimes. But also, whatever DNA was found on her, assuming it was the perp, it was in a database and it's never been flagged ever again. So it was like a one and done with this guy. He murdered JonBenet and disappeared forever and never committed another crime in his life. That doesn't seem very likely to me. What are your thoughts overall on the intruder theory?
I'm just aligning my chakra.
Yeah. Wait, don't tell me. I can feel your negative energy speaking on behalf of you.
It made an audible noise, didn't it?
I swear the microphone picked it up.
There's certainly an argument for it. I don't agree with it. I don't think that's what happened.
You don't think an intruder did it?
No. There's all sorts of evidence. The problem is the evidence is broad enough that it's difficult to nail down that theory as like the one. And there's nothing in there that like convinces me that that's the one.
Because it just seems reckless to me. Sure, stay in the house for 2 hours and spread some things out of your own possession. Write a ransom note that is very theatrical. Bring a rope, but then don't use it to choke someone. Instead, make a device from a supply that you somehow found in the house, implying you were looking in rooms, and then take a janky paintbrush and make your own strangling device when you already have a rope you brought. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No. And I mean, kind of playing off that, in the light that there's so much of this crime that's so logical, planned, and thought out, that there's also like almost an equal sense of things that aren't planned out, or like random, like not taking the draft of the ransom note, leaving behind the rope and the flashlight that they said wasn't there. There's enough that's illogical that it doesn't make sense, short of someone being a borderline schizophrenic, to be able to not commit seemingly two different crimes, but almost go about the same crime in two different ways in one go.
Theory number 2. A disturbed neighbor named Glenn Meyer killed JonBenet. 2 days before the murder, the Ramseys were hosting a Christmas party when Glenn showed up unannounced. He told John Ramsey he was looking for the Barnhills, the Ramseys' neighbors across the street, because they were his landlords and he was living in their basement. Not knowing who he was, the Ramseys found him a little odd, but nonetheless invited him in to find the Barnhills. He walked around for a while and then left, claiming he couldn't find them. It is theorized he used the Barnhills as a legitimate ruse to scout out the house. The Barnhills allegedly said when they returned home, their tenant Glenn was in their kitchen and started asking a lot of questions about the layout of the Ramseys' house and about the guests at the party, possibly trying to fill in the gaps of the house layout he couldn't while searching in the house. It was also discovered that he was in debt and was being sued for owing over $24,000 in payments, giving him motive for staging a ransom. Police needed 3 samples of his handwriting, as the first 2 showed similarities to the ransom note. However, the most incriminating evidence was when his ex-wife, Charlotte Hay, publicly announced that she believed he killed JonBenet. She stated, quote, "When I asked him if he had murdered her, he just smiled at me. He wouldn't deny it," end quote. She also believed he was very capable of such an act, telling the National Enquirer, quote, "I believe my husband killed JonBenet. I knew he was capable of it," end quote. Not only did she claim he was a violent man, especially towards her children, but he was obsessed with JonBenet, allegedly having a homemade shrine of her in his house.
Top 10 things you do not want to find in your tenant's home. That would be like number 3 or something.
I might bump that up to number 1. A shrine?
Here's the real question. Is it creepier if it's a shrine for someone alive or dead?
I'd say alive.
Yeah.
Depending on the context. I mean, isn't it a big part of certain cultures to have shrines to their ancestors? And let me be very clear. 2 totally
I was
different
gonna say,
things.
I'll be real with you. I don't think that's what he was doing.
Different things. But I mean, like, in a vacuum, if it's weirder to have one for someone that's alive versus dead.
I guess alive.
I would
I see
say
what you're
alive.
saying.
Yeah. But I mean,
even if he didn't kill her, throw this fool in jail.
That's weird enough. He's guilty of something.
Yeah.
I don't know what, but I'm sure we can find it.
Yeah. The fact that they are like exes and stuff, does it put her testimony in doubt? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there might be some bias of her saying that, but it is commonly believed that he did have a shrine of JonBenet, and there might be some police reports of that.
The police had Glenn do a polygraph test, which he passed. It was also determined that his handwriting did not match the handwriting from the ransom note. Worst of all, he voluntarily gave blood DNA for the investigation multiple times just for it to come back negative. After having no evidence linking him to the crime and a past polygraph test, he was eliminated as a suspect by the police and later died in 2005 from cancer.
Good riddance. Absolutely zero people sad about that.
I wasn't going to say anything, but I'm glad you voiced that. Okay, wait. So to kind of go back to the DNA thing, we already established that the DNA was borderline irrelevant.
Kind of, yeah. But like, obviously, if his DNA had been found there, he would have been linked to some
100%.
aspect. So it's like the fact that his DNA wasn't found there, does that mean a lot? The handwriting almost being similar, like they needed multiple samples, does raise a couple flags.
Yeah, my handwriting's pretty bad. So if I kill someone and write something about it,
can you imagine you write the ransom like, what the frick does this say, bro?
Can anyone read this?
Yeah, you're like planned it out super well. You're like, oh yeah, I got them.
They're gonna have to call like my 5th grade teacher and be like, can you interpret this for us?
And so that's actually going to do it for part 1 of the JonBenét Ramsey case. We haven't done this yet before on this series, a 2-parter, but we feel there's just so much that goes into this case that it would be better suited as a 2-parter so that we can be able to get into the nitty gritty of all the details without having a super long episode. Don't fret, we're going to have part 2 released soon after part 1 releases. So we hope you guys liked the episode. We hope you stick around for part 2. And as Vanilla Ice once said, word to your mother.